Hello and welcome to another edition of Press Row on Rivalry Family Media. I'm Todd Robbins. Happy to have you along with us for another edition of Press Row, and happy to be joined today by the brand new head coach of the Leominster High School Softball program, Tara Herrick Witzgall. Tara, great to have you here with us. And of course, we say brand new because we were just getting to that point where you were going to start your very first season on the bench for Leominster High School, and then it all was for naught, as of course the athletic season for 2020, due to this COVID-19 shutdown in the world, has taken away that 2020 season. But still a great opportunity to talk softball any chance we can possibly get. So great to have you here on the program. And of course, by day, you are a Title I reading teacher at Francis Drake Elementary School, which to me will always be Southeast Elementary School because that's what I grew up calling it. But still, the Francis Drake Elementary School here in Leominster. And let's talk a little bit first about that, your primary day job. I mean, the other day I interviewed Leominster High School Principal Steve Dubzinski, and he was talking about, elementary education and kind of the role it plays long term. Sometimes at the high school level, we get to take the big bow at graduation and talk about all the great things we did over 4 years. And he said, one day I was in an elementary class and I sat back and I went, wow, they're teaching people how to read. This is literally what you're doing. Like, nothing past that matters. We have to teach people how to read, and that's what you get to do every day.
Yeah, we're teaching those foundational skills in kindergarten, first grade, which is a challenge to do now through the computer. And we're giving parents a lot of that responsibility, which is hard when you're not trained in how to teach reading. So it's been a challenge, definitely, for sure.
We talk about student engagement at a high school level being about obviously just getting the kids to get to the computer, turn it on, and do something. For you all, I think you have the benefit of, with a little bit of help from the parents, you'll get the audience, so to speak. The students come to the computer room and will be there. But how do you engage them in the lessons? What has been some of the strategies you guys have had to employ under these circumstances?
Well, so being a Title I teacher, I mean, I'm kind of getting together with some of the classroom teachers, a kindergarten teacher in particular. We've had some Google Meets, which with kindergartners, you can imagine, is definitely a challenge. I mean, the kids all want to talk at the same time. But I think just reaching out to the kids, we're trying to share lessons with the parents that they can be doing at home. We're recording ourselves, teaching lessons that we're sharing with the parents and having the kids watch. Definitely nothing like what I was trained for. Being in the classroom, that's where I feel like I can really make a difference. So I think I feel the same way a lot of teachers do. I think we feel like we're not making the difference that we're supposed to be making as teachers. So it's been a challenge. And getting the kids to get on and participate. A lot of kids are, there are a few that aren't, so trying to reach them is tough.
That balance that you're talking about, or that something, I've tried to articulate what it is, and teachers have been saying that, and obviously teacher coaches that I've been speaking with, there's that, it's almost like a fourth dimension. It's hard to explain, right? You can get people together. There's that really important role, I think, of just creating any kind of normalcy for students being able to interact with their teacher. But there's that something special that happens when you're physically there in the room together that you can't recreate virtually.
Absolutely. I mean, you feel like you're making a difference when they're sitting there in front of you. You can read them, you can feel what's happening. And it's definitely not the same trying to do it virtually. So for now, we're hoping to get back to normal soon.
Yes, absolutely. And for the moment, the magic carpet gets just a little bit bigger as we have to extend it out to be able to reach everybody, and hopefully continue to keep doing that along the way, and maybe come fall back to some form of normalcy in person. And of course, as are we all as we go through this process. And of course, you yourself, as we kind of get this opportunity to introduce you to the community, you yourself are a parent, so you've been trying to, in addition to teach others, you have the kind of the added benefit of being a teacher in your own home as well, as you have two students who are a little bit older. We were saying before we got started, a little more self-sufficient, which is a nice thing, but I'm sure you've had to help guide them along the way.
Yeah, it's checking in, making sure, did you do your work? Yes. You checked in with your homeroom teacher? Yes. And the teachers at Skyview, just like all the teachers in Leominster, are amazing. But if they're not getting assignments done, I'm getting emails, so I can keep tabs that way. But yeah, they're pretty self-sufficient, so I don't have to worry about doing much with them. And let's be honest, Todd, I probably can't do that middle school work anyways, so I probably wouldn't be much of a help.
They're doing that new math. I remember when we were growing up, it was new math. Now they're doing new math.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means. That's why I teach reading. That to me is so much easier. So I'm glad they don't ask me for math help. I send them to my husband for that if they need help with math.
There's nothing wrong with that. Of course, you make mention of your husband. It would be hard not to mention him also being a first responder, being out in the community. I mean, that's another facet that you and your family obviously are dealing with, being out on the front lines and then coming home every day. I'm sure that has to play into it and trying to be supportive within the community as well.
Yeah, he's a police officer out in Boston for the transit police. So he's working midnights. Thankfully, it's been pretty quiet out there, but you know, of course I worry that he's out there and around people. I haven't really even left my house. I leave, I go for a walk, and that's about it. Or go out and play catch with the kids. But I don't go to too many places. So we're thankful for him that he's out there and he's doing that for us.
And we are as well. Please pass on our thanks to him later on when he returns. As we kind of turn our attention toward, kind of your connection to the sport of softball, which, I mean, for those that don't know you, that connection has been lifelong. You were born into a softball family with a father who coached softball. When I think of Lunenburg High School softball growing up as a young umpire, Mickey Herrick will forever be the Lunenburg coach. I know we're many coaches past that, but for me, he will forever be the Lunenburg coach. So working our way on down from there, obviously you had the opportunity to play. You're a 4-year athlete in Leominster with your 4-year varsity career there, then went on to play at Fitchburg State, and you are a member of the Fitchburg State, now University, Hall of Fame as well, inducted in 2010. So softball really has been life for you for a very long time.
Oh, absolutely. My father played professional baseball, so I think it started with him when I was at a very young age, and it's a love, it's a passion. My husband and I were just watching Moneyball the other night. I don't know why I had never seen this movie, but Billy Bean or Brad Pitt's character, Billy Bean, makes that comment about, it's hard not to be romantic about baseball. And that's how I feel about softball. It's just a love. I mean, my family will tell you that I love softball more than anything, that I love softball more than them. Not always true. Some days it might be true, Todd, but not always true. But it's a passion within me that it doesn't seem to go away. And I don't want it to go away. So I probably get that from my father, because he's still, very passionate about baseball.
I'm sure he'll have some input that he'll want to make from the sidelines as well, somewhere along the
Always
way.
Has.
I have no doubt. I mean, and your experience obviously continued throughout the community, not just obviously in high school and in college. You were part of the Polar Crush program for a long period of time, both as a player and a coach. So you have this great pedigree, not just within your own family, but you played for legendary local coach Matt Palumbo as well. That certainly has to be an influence into your, now coaching career.
Absolutely. It was tough. We just lost Matt in the fall, and that was very difficult. He was a wonderful coach, a wonderful mentor. If you were tough enough to play for Matt Palumbo, then you got the coaching of your life. So I was very thankful to have had those years playing for and coaching with him. I went back and I did coach with him. And then moving on and playing for Lisa Wallace at Fitchburg State. Two of the greatest coaches next to my father and Frank Stefanides that I've ever had. So I've been pretty fortunate with the people that I've played for and coached with. They've really inspired this love for the game that I think carry with me forever. So.
And when we talk about your coaching experience, I was trying to remember when we first met, and the team that popped into my mind, and I confirmed it when I looked up your resume online, was the Worcester County Freedom. That was where you were coaching at the time when we first interacted. I can remember a summer ball tournament somewhere at the Leominster Lassie League complex, and being involved with the Freedom program. Because really, when I was getting started as an official, there were basically on a local level, you had the Crush, who was seen as like the elite program, and then the kind of those next program down were the Firecrackers and the Freedom. Those were the kind of the two that were in Central Massachusetts and were longtime programs. Started as an assistant coach, worked your way to head coach, and were involved with them for a number of years.
Yeah, it was a great program. We had a nice connection with Matt Palumbo and the Crush at that point too. We had a lot of our girls leave us and go and play for them, which was a great opportunity. The Freedom was, we started that. Maury Boudreau, Kirsty Salmi started that program and brought me in. And when they left, I took over. And when I got pregnant with my son, who's almost 15 now, I had to step away from the head coaching. But it was right after that, Matt Palumbo called me and said, "Hey, do you want to come coach?" And I couldn't pass that up. So that's when I went to coach with Matt. And I was 9 months pregnant coaching first base for the Polar Crush at the time. And what an experience that was. But yeah, those, it's phenomenal softball players that came out of both of those programs.
Oh, no question about that. I think about obviously the development and I forgot what you just mentioned, which was that the Freedom eventually became a feeder program to the Crush for a period of time. And you're right, developed so many great athletes that then went on, and then from there went on farther. And I think that's been kind of one of the special pieces about Central Mass softball is these programs that have developed athletes over a long period of time and helped them get to, if they wanted to continue to play, much like yourself, those opportunities were afforded you because of the experience you had starting out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No question about that. Indeed, as we think about your movement into that coaching piece, obviously having seen a number of great coaches, when you started to kind of formulate your coaching philosophy, what would you say is your overall coaching philosophy? What's your goal as a coach in your
mind? Team first. I think that's the biggest thing with any team. You have to have that team first mentality. There's a lot of sacrifices when you're playing high school ball, college ball, travel ball. You have to sacrifice. You have to make sure that team comes first. And if not, I don't think that a team can necessarily be successful. That's one of the things that we started to talk to our Leominster seniors about prior to what would have been our season. And that was one of the first things that we talked about. Definitely the team first attitude, discipline, their attitude, their effort. That to me is bigger than just the talent alone. So I think those are kind of the building blocks of a positive team culture that we're trying to establish with Leominster High School.
There's a real logical connection here. When I look at your coaching experience, you have gone back and coached in just about every location where you've played, which says a lot about the experience that you got, and obviously then getting an opportunity to give back to those programs along the way. Why Leominster High School and why now?
Honestly, Todd, when I graduated in 1996, which, wow, was so long ago, I said right after that, I told Frank Stephanides, I said, I want to come back here and I want to coach this program. And I bumped into him twice over the winter. My daughter and his daughter played basketball against each other and came over and he gave me a hug and he said, "You got your dream job." He said, "You've been saying this since 1996. I remember as a high school player watching the 87 and 88 state championship games and watching Kelly Boissonneau steal home to win the 87 state championship. And it sparked something in me. And I said, I want to do this. I want this to happen. And at the time, it hadn't even been 10 years since they had won a state championship. Now it's been remember, math isn't my thing, but 32 years, is that right? 88?
Sounds about right to
32,
me.
it's been 32 years now since Leominster's won a state championship. And it's too long, especially in a city like Leominster. We're the city of champions. We have phenomenal athletic programs. I've been involved with Leominster Lassie League for many years now. I see the talent in this city. It's time. It's time. And when I left Fitchburg State 4 years ago, my plan was I was going to spend more time with my family, and my kids were getting more involved in sports. And 2 months after I resigned at Fitchburg State, I got a phone call from Lauren Hatfield saying, I want you to come coach my middle school program. And it just kind of all, happened from there. I think everything happens for a reason. There was a reason that I told Lauren I would come and coach the middle school program with her. And, she ended up getting the job at Worcester State, and here I am. So that dream of a state championship is not gone. It's now more real than it's ever been. And I tell the girls that. I tell the girls the very first day of practice, I told them in middle school, this is why I'm here. This is what we're going to do. This is what I want to see happen with this program. So
that begins back when I think about it. You mentioned the involvement with Lassie League. It's such an important piece, is getting them early, right? Getting an athlete early, and getting them involved. That was, I think, one of the many reasons why the Lassie League was created, those many years ago, was to give female athletes a place to have that launching point, the same launching point that their male counterparts had in baseball, and to get them there and keep them there and allow them to develop, and then hopefully find a way to a travel program, and then those to feed to the high school. And obviously that middle school piece is something I want to peel apart too, because that's relatively new again. It's something that used to be many, many years ago and then went away for a long, long time, and is now coming back as people are realizing in order to get really great high school programs, you need to capture an athlete much earlier on in order to feed them into your high school program.
Absolutely. I think not having the middle school program for so long definitely didn't do the Leominster softball program any good. So when they decided to bring that back, I think that's definitely going to be a great foundation for our high school program. And Lassie League as well. We have some amazing coaches in Lassie League that are getting these kids early. They're teaching them the proper fundamentals, teaching them all the skills that they need to be competitive at the middle school level and then at the high school level. And there's a lot of talent in the city, a lot of softball talent. And we need to do something with it at the high school level now.
And of course, softball has for a long time fought with this kind of balance of, is it a recreational item? Is it a competitive piece? And do those both belong together? It's something that athletics wrestles with all the time, but seemingly in the sport of softball, we talk about it quite a bit. Is it solely for recreational purposes? Is that the only thing a Lassie League exists for? Or can it build competitive athletes? Then there's that kind of the other side, which is they go play travel ball thinking that's more of a competitive piece. But a lot of times with travel programs, you end up drawing from communities beyond just the one you're based in. So then you're helping develop other high school programs. So when you get to that high school piece and you get to where everybody's feeding up into, it's how do you prepare your Leominster athletes in the long run to get to, as a city, to get to that high school point where they are competitive. And there's always this war, and we're seeing it now in a multitude of sports, but I feel like softball's been dealing with it for a long, long time. How do we bring both of those together and bridge them to best prepare athletes to compete at Leominster High School and to inspire them to want to compete at Leominster High School?
Well, for so long, Lassie League, they just competed against each other. It was just Leominster girls competing against Leominster girls. And Lassie League used to have the numbers to be able to have 5 teams in each division. It's not like that anymore. We're losing, as we talked about before we started recording, we're losing a lot of kids to different sports, to, like you said, lacrosse. Now basketball is year long, soccer is year long. We're losing a lot of kids to TikTok and FaceTime and different social medias. I mean, that's what they're doing more than going out and playing sports. This year, Lassie League was branching out and actually joining the Wachusett League and having our girls compete against some of the girls that they would be competing against in high school, which I thought was a great move by Lassie League. We'll see if Lassie is still able to have a season. Hopefully it can get pushed off until the summer and they can still play. But I think I think we're going to see a big difference in that too, now that they're having that outside competition and that they're competing with the Wachusett girls and, you know, these other teams that they normally wouldn't have competed against. So now it ends up becoming more competitive. I'm competitive. I don't ever step on that field and just say, oh, I'm just here to have fun today. I mean, I always want to have fun. I want to make it fun for the girls. But I like to win. That's what I go out there to do. So I think it depends on who you're talking to. Some people want to just go out there and, oh, just have fun and it's okay if we lose. And then you have the girls who I think share my mentality of, you know, I want to go out there, I want to have fun, but I want to win. I want to learn. And that's the biggest thing. I think if these girls are learning and they're able to go out on the field and they're able to demonstrate and do all these things that they've been learning, then it is fun. You win, and then it's kind of bringing those two together.
When you speak about female athletes, I think you point to something that I think people very much miss. There is a balance. Coaching a female athlete is vastly different than coaching a male athlete in the way that teams are organized. You know, I had been to a great NCAA, you know, kind of psychological shrink type conference where they had a sports psychologist talk about, you know, the difference between how you kind of put together a male team and you get them to work together to win versus putting together a team of female athletes and getting them to win. There is that combination of the family approach. Female athletes want to work together as more of a united team. There's much less of an individual appeal. There's that united team. So how do you build that kind of team approach in being successful?
Well, it's funny. I always say to parents when I have a meeting with the parents, for girls have to feel good to play good. Boys, on the other hand, guys, I think they have to play good to feel good. And so there is definitely that importance that we need to put on building those interpersonal relationships with the girls and building that mental toughness that I believe we do need as females. And, you know, I see my son, you know, he plays baseball and he has a bad game and he just kind of blows it off. Whereas my daughter is a little bit different, where if she has a bad game, you know, she gets a little more upset about it. I definitely, and I love how you mentioned family, because that's one of the things that we talk about a lot. This is a family. These are your sisters. You might not like them every day. You might argue with them. You know, you might hate me some days. And that's okay, but we have to be able to communicate. And we have to be able to trust one another, just like in a family. If we don't have that trust and that communication, then I don't think that we would be able to be successful. So that's another, I think, foundation of building a championship program, is building those interpersonal skills.
I think one of the things when you think about long-term goals, obviously for the Leominster softball program, one of those big things that is a big ticket item is a true home facility. It's been something that has been sorely lacking. The Leominster softball program has for so long kind of been a traveling, you know, army themselves. Years and years and years ago, the Litchfield Street Fields were the home facility. In more recent decades, Leominster Lassie League Field has hosted the Leominster softball program, but it's not the same as, you know, a baseball program that has Doyle Field, and that is their home facility. That is one of the things that's part of a larger project project that they're considering, and for years has kind of been stalled, to put this field facility behind Leominster High School. A home for the softball program is part of that. How important is that, do you think, in order to help grow and develop and reach those championship goals you want your program to aspire toward?
Oh, I think it's very important. I've had a lot of conversations with Dave Palazzi about that field up there. The girls want a home. They want someplace that's theirs that they can be proud of. Lassie League has been wonderful over the past few years, working with Leominster High School and making that a home for our program. But there's nothing there that says home of Leominster High School girls softball. There's no signs. There's nothing that makes us think that that's our home. So I think that the girls would love to see that. I know I would love to see it. My assistant coaches would love to see us have a home of our own finally. And hopefully we'll see that over the next, I don't know how long it's going to take, Todd. It's we were hoping for it a long time ago, so we're hoping it happens soon.
And it's not for lack of trying. I can remember the city trying at one point in time. There was a field installed behind what was a newer then Samoset school, but I don't think ever quite got embraced because of its distance away from the high school. And I think that's a lot of reason why that field facility behind the high school could be so vital, is it will build that connection to athletics and to athletic programs, particularly female athletics. I mean, track and field certainly needs a home. They would get a track out of the deal, but your field hockey program potentially ends up with a home facility there. Girls lacrosse ends up with a facility, and on down the line, a facility there is so vital to this community, and particularly to its female athletes. And I know I put a bug in his ear. You may love or hate it, but I love the idea of a synthetic field. There's something about it. The purists want to hang me, but generally speaking, I love the idea of at least a partial synthetic field and the concept of being able to play all the time. And I think the game works on a synthetic surface.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we don't have to deal with that, waiting for the snow to melt in March or April or, whenever it melts.
May, if we keep this up.
Sometimes it takes until the end of April, beginning of May. But yeah, I mean, we can get out there early. I think that was one of the, exciting things this season was that the fields were clear. There was no snow. And we said, hey, we're going to have tryouts outside. We haven't had tryouts outside, in a long time. And then, all of this happened. So that's it. Moving forward, it would be great to have a field that, we can just plow and we can get right out there, and it won't be an issue. We don't have to wait for any field maintenance or landscaping. We can just get out there and play.
We will keep it front of mind as we continue through
fingers crossed
and years ahead as well. You made mention of the conversation we were having before we came on the air about this sport of softball, and it's one that both of us care so much about and do feel that pinch from lacrosse, do feel that pinch from soccer and basketball and other year-round sports, and student athletes specializing in one particular sport or another. And I feel like softball has gotten pinched much like baseball in that it's seen as more lethargic, slow, there's not as much action. But that is, I think, something I want to hopefully in our conversation dispel here. Softball and baseball, although they are bat ball sports, are not the same thing. And I think that, at the Olympic level, they've now sort of kind of merged them in order to share facilities, which, if that's what it took in my mind in order to get it to be an Olympic sport again, I was willing to live with. But they're not the same sport. They can compete in the same kind of area, but there's something about softball where you take that bat ball concept, you shrink down the field to something maybe a little bit bigger than a little league field when you think about it. You put powerful athletes who have speed on the field. It is a much, much different game than people really, I think, have an understanding of.
Well, I think it's so much more exciting than baseball. I mean, no disrespect to the baseball players, and I have a lot of them in my lives. I love baseball, but softball is exciting. It's fast paced, and you watch some of these college teams play the game, and I mean, they're diving all over the place. They're making these tremendous plays. It's the small ball, the bunting, the stealing, the slashing, the slapping. It's all that excitement that baseball doesn't have. And that, there are some girls that's what drives them. They love that excitement on the field. But it is, I notice in Lassie especially, they're losing numbers. Fewer and fewer girls want to get into the sport. And that's one of the things my assistant coaches and I have talked so much about is how can we bring more girls in? We need to get more girls playing softball and developing them so they can come play for us at the high school level. And that's why we stay involved in Lassie League for that reason.
No question about the need for that. You make mention of your staff. This would be a good opportunity to introduce us to the staff. In 2020, we didn't quite get to meet. Who is a part of your coaching staff, now part of the Leominster High School program?
So my assistant, there's two of them on varsity. Marissa Gemma, who was a 2012 graduate of Leominster High School, I believe. If I get that wrong, she's going to be mad at me, but I think it's 2012. Marissa Gemma played at Fitchburg State. That's where I met her. And she's coached every single team with me that I've coached. And when I took over the middle school job, I said, I asked her to join me. And I said, we're going to coach the varsity team one day. And I want you to be here with me. And she said, okay. She was so excited. We didn't think it would happen this soon, but here we are. And then, of course, Lee Bolak, Lee's been with the program for so long. She's a phenomenal pitching coach. She knows the game of softball. She loves the game of softball. She's just as crazy about the game as I am. So Lee will be with us, probably not as often as she had been in the past. She has family commitments, but she still is very, very much a part of this program. And Kelly Marciano, she's going to be mad at me for that too. Kelly Marciano is our JV coach, and Kelly is, she's been in Leominster since I was a student in Leominster. She's been coaching, and she's just a fantastic coach to have in our on our JV team. And then Nancy LeBlanc, who is the Leominster High School girls hockey coach, is the middle school coach. She's taking over that program. And Nancy, absolutely, she knows her stuff when it comes to softball. So I've left that program in good hands. I'm very happy about that.
The important, I think, thread through that entire staff, and we'll adopt Lee just for the purpose of this conversation because she's a Doherty alum. But beyond that, for a moment, she's been around long enough. We can, I think, officially extend her Leominster status. Have all come up through that program. When you mentioned Marissa Gemma, I think I remember her when I was an official coming up through the Lassie League program. So that's a name that obviously has been around, come up through Leominster. She is a picture perfect example, as all of your staff is, of what you can achieve playing as a young player and working your way on up. You can achieve coming out of this program.
Absolutely. And we all share the same goal. We all want the same thing. We're all on the same page. We were meeting all throughout the preseason. We had all of these plans for the program that we just, I guess, have to put on hold until next year and then be able to get going with it.
Well, this is the great opportunity about this conversation. At least you don't have to keep them quiet, because I want to hear them. I want to hear about what the plans were for the program. What were your hopes for a 2020 season that I have to imagine felt a little bit like the beginning of a race? You were in the starting gate, you were waiting for the gates to open, and then they never did. What were the things you were hoping to see in a 2020 season that never happened?
A postseason. Leominster hasn't made it to the postseason in a while. That was our main goal in meeting with the seniors. And that was one of the things Marissa and I really wanted to do, was bond with the seniors. We've coached the juniors and the sophomores and the freshmen. We had them in middle school, but we had never coached any of the seniors. And so we tried to build that connection with them. And that was one of the things that we said was our main goal for the season, was to qualify for the postseason. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. I think that's what I am the most sad about, is that the 5 seniors didn't get that opportunity. And no doubt the 5 of them would have had a tremendous season, especially Grace Adams, who has been leading, the league in hitting for so many years. She's been, always like in the top 5 with batting average, slugging percentage. So for her not to be able to have a senior year along with Mia Losey and Kaya Curley White and Lauren Doobie and Allie Tumanis, that was really tough. That was tough. We took that pretty hard.
You mentioned Grace Adams. It feels like she's been on the 5-year plan, but really it's only been 4. I mean, she has been a name synonymous with Leominster softball now for such a long period of time.
Yeah. Yeah. And we had no doubt that this would have been a very successful season for us. We had the return of Alex Wheeler on the mound. Alex was out last year with a knee injury. Most teams had in the league, they haven't even seen her pitch. And she's worked really hard on making that comeback. So we were excited about having her on the mound. Bella Gasparo coming back as a sophomore after coming off a tremendous freshman season. We had a lot of high hopes for this team. So we, we're just going to take everything that we planned on doing and bringing it into the 2021 season. That's kind of where we're looking.
As you went through kind of the uncertain time, there was a large portion of time where there was still that open-ended possibility. There was that glimmer of hope that competition would ultimately happen. How important was that for the athletes? It wasn't just when the shutdown came, there would be no spring athletics and it's over, back in March. There was a period of time where people truly hoped that by now, we would be out seeing competition begin somewhere around now. Would have been roughly what the first day of competition would have been.
Yeah, we actually today or tomorrow would have been our 11th game of the season. So yeah, we really held on to that hope until the governor came on and said, schools are out. We still even held on to a little bit of hope. We were hoping something, the athletic director, Mr. Palazzi, would have sent us an email saying, well, we're going to have a very shortened season. I don't know. I know it probably sounds ridiculous, but we were still just kind of hoping for something because we wanted it so badly. But we stayed in communication. I communicated every week with the girls, sent them drills to work on. I know the girls were working on their own time at home, hoping to be able to use some of that this season, but no such luck.
Yeah, alas not, but you mentioned those drills at home, and those are not for naught, as whether you are moving on or not, or you have another year to play, there is an opportunity on your own, obviously, to work. A coach that I had interviewed a couple of weeks ago, Leominster lacrosse coach Colin Davis, said, one of the things that we will see come next season is that kind of cliche that we hear in sports, that champions are made, kind of out of the limelight. The champions are not always made in the spotlight. It's what they do off screen, away from everybody else, is what makes a champion. We're really going to see that in action. These off-season workouts are going to make all the difference in the world, as everyone is kind of on their own during these shutdowns.
Absolutely. And that's one of the big things, that skill development, whether it's together on the field as a team or on their own. And I think a lot of these girls are putting in that time and that effort that this program needs to be successful. So, I'm excited. I'm sad that we won't have the 5 seniors from this season, but I'm excited about the talent that we have coming up. And I know that these girls have been putting a lot of time into developing outside of that team atmosphere. So I'm excited to see what they bring come softball next season, especially with not having this season. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how they've developed. And I know that they have. I know that they've been out there working hard.
We talk a lot about, and we've mentioned it here a couple of times, that building of family. And of course, when you are forced apart by this social distancing method and everything being shut down and closed, it's hard to be together and to do that family building and bonding. But coaches are experimenting and trying to find ways to build that family from distance, that together at home hashtag that is out there right now. How have you been trying to kind of build and reach and make these connections even from distance?
Well, I've been trying to encourage the seniors to get a TikTok or something going. That's not my area of expertise, the TikTok and all this.
Me neither.
But they haven't done it yet, Todd. So, I might have to reach out, and I might have to get something going to get everybody connected. But when restrictions are lifted, we plan on getting everybody together and celebrating our seniors the way that they should be celebrated and the way that they deserve to be celebrated this season. So we will, as soon as the government says you guys are okay to get together, we're going to have one heck of a softball party to see these girls off and wish them well.
Your point is actually well taken, in the sense that although a pitch may never be thrown and a hit may never be achieved somewhere during this season, the seniors can still play a large part in building a foundation for a growing program by helping to organize and set a standard and get everybody together and galvanize this support, even if they never get to play together this year.
Yeah. And that started before, we went into quarantine with we ran a clinic. The seniors were great in getting that set up and helping out with that and making, or bringing that excitement for some of these young girls who attended. They want to see this program succeed as much as anybody, whether they're a part of it or not. So they're definitely a huge part of the success that this program has moving forward.
More broadly in the world of softball, when we of course talk about the need for the sport to grow and the importance of it, obviously, to get to be front of mind. One of the things that, of course, we mentioned that has kind of been delayed another year as well has been the sport's growth back to Olympic status, where hopefully if the 2020 Tokyo Games do take place in 2021, softball is on the program for that. And then there's questions about whether that will continue to France in 2024, and we presume will return in Los Angeles in 2028 beyond that. So there's that piece of this that I think kind of plays into the conversation. Then there's the need, of course, for a continued growth of a vibrant professional league here in the United States, and potentially another league coming on board this fall, assuming things are eventually lifted, by Athletes Unlimited. There are so many ways that the sport of softball has the opportunity to grow and get to front of mind in order to, of course, capture the attention of young athletes.
Yeah. That's when softball came back into the Olympic world. I mean, the softball community, I think, was thrilled. We were supposed to go see them this summer. They were going to come to Brockton, and we were so excited to see them play. Hopefully softball doesn't go away. I think the professional leagues are great. I think it's something wonderful for our young girls to look towards. And I already have some girls on my travel team talking about playing professional softball. So it's exciting for them to be able to see that and to see these wonderful role models that are out there in this sport. it's a great way, I think, for a young girl to learn about life. I think a lot of very important life skills are learned on that softball field. And it would be sad if that wasn't there for them anymore. So hopefully this sport will continue on and hopefully continue to grow, especially here in the city of Leominster. We're hoping for that. So
there have been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to keep that National Pro Fast Pitch League going and continuing to grow year in and year out. I know them hearing just that point. That's been the number one thing I've heard from players and administrators in that league is they want young athletes to be able to grow up with a dream of playing professionally. I think you've just made some of them very, very happy to hear that there are kids out there that actually are able to think and dream that way.
Yeah, definitely.
No question about that. As we kind of wrap things up here, Tara, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about kind of the future of the Leominster softball program as we've kind of been filling in the details along the way, kind of in your mind, getting beyond this 2020 season and the shutdown, obviously, that we've experienced. What are the things? What are the things you're going to be looking for as we move forward, hopefully in the, kind of the short term and then the long-term goals you'd like to see?
Well, I think moving forward for this program, for so long, Leominster softball has been chasing teams like Wachusett, Algonquin, Shepherd Hill, Shrewsbury. I mean, we've been chasing them, and we want Leominster to be the team that's being chased. And I think that that's going to come with a lot of hard work on the coach's part, on the player's part. I know we have girls that are coming up into the program that not only have the talent, but they have the effort and the desire to see this program succeed. So if we can build that mentality in all of our girls, with the skill development, the physical fitness that we've tried to incorporate into the program this year, interpersonal relationships that we talked about before, the sportsmanship, the mental toughness. If we can bring all of that into this program and instill that in our girls, I think that we're going to have a successful program moving forward, especially with the talent that I see here in Leominster. So.
And that is for the years to come. Leominster High School head softball coach Tara Herrick Witzgall, thank you so much for joining us here on Press Row, here on Rivalry Family Media. Hopefully, a ball will be put into play sometime very, very soon. If not at the high school level, somewhere along the way for all of us to get back to normalcy before that 2021 season that we're all looking forward to.
Yes. Thank you, Todd. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And we thank all of you so much for being a part of our family here on Rivalry Family Media. Like, subscribe, click, and more, all the details right there on your screen. For all of us here at RFM, I am Todd Robbins saying thank you so very much for joining us. And until next time, so long, everybody.